Hey guys, so this is just going to be a really quick tutorial on how to make a grid chart for tapestry crocheting or fair isle knitting. I'll show you how to start from scratch or start from an image in Flosscross. So I just Google searched flosscross.com and it brings me to this website. So I'll just click create pattern and you can see that there's only 3 slots. You can have more than 3. I'll show you how to do that later, but I have slot 2 empty. And since I'm going to start from scratch, I'm just going to click new. And before we even start designing, I usually decide how big I want my finished chart to be in length and width. And to do this, I'll pick out my yarn, I'll pick out the tools like the hook or needles, and I'll do a little swatch with the stitch I'm using. And then I'll calculate the number of stitches per inch and the number of rows per inch. You can also just Google a gauge calculator to do the math for you if you'd like. So I found my grid needs to be 40 squares by 40 squares. Oh, and this is actually a software for cross stitching. That's why everything is called like crosses and all that. But we can actually just set it to flat so that instead of crosses on the grid, it'll show as flat color. So up here in the toolbar, we have the canvas options. These I won't really be touching because all we really need is the export. For this, we have the hand button to just like pan around. The edit brings back these options. We have the undo and redo, refresh, and the viewing options, and some more viewing options. So I'm just gonna leave all the viewing options as is with it set to flat. Now let's pretend I'm designing an Arizona sunset. So I'm going to pick out some of my colors. So if I just click my current color, I'll do replace color. I'm gonna select a purple. I'll click this one and replace those. So we have the color fill, and I'm just going to fill this chart. And we have the paint option. I will use the level 3 size and make a sunset. Oh, and the keyboard shortcuts work as well if you want to do Control Z. In shapes, you can select the circle, quite low res, so it's actually kind of squarish, but that's fine. I'll fix that up too. Okay, so that's our sunset. Now to export it, I'll just go export to SVG, which is scalable vector graphic, which means it will be working in Adobe Illustrator. When you're exporting, I like to uncheck these options and just check on color blocks. And that's exactly what I want it to look like. Now, if I save to SVG, I'm just going to name it something unique. It will end up in my downloads folder. And this is the SVG. So that's the process of creating a design from scratch. Now, if you wanted to create your design from an existing image, you just go from image, and I'm going to make mine from a Spotify code. You can crop the image if you want, but I'm going to leave it as is. Especially with Spotify codes, you want to make sure that it still works when you scan it. So I don't want it to be too small for width and height. So I'm just going to set the width to 100 and it automatically scales the height too. So if I click continue, you'll get to choose how many colors you want it to use. And I just want to use 2 because that's how many the original image had. And you can also change the brightness, and I'll click finish. Now we're in the design area again. So here you can fix up any problems you see in the grid. Okay, so let's just assume that's good. Oh, and another shortcut, middle mouse button will do the same as panning. And that's pretty much all I want to do for editing. So now I'm going to export it as a SVG again, unchecking these and just checking on color blocks. Okay, so there's my Spotify code. Now, if all 3 of your slots are full, you can just export these out. So I like to use fcjson, which is just Flosscross JSON. So if I export it and then I delete this, confirm erase, yes. Now I can also select open fcjson and bring in the same design. And if I open it, it's where I left off. So all the colors are as I set them, but I just need to change the view as flat again. So that's how you design from Flosscross from scratch from an image and how to save your files out.